Greetings and happy holidays, everybody. My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode of our 12 Sprues of Kit-mas. Today we are moving forward with day number 9. Go ahead and grab that box, punch on through that opening, and see what we have in store for us today. So far, I've been really enjoying all the builds. I did take a little bit of a break, as you guys know, but this is a lot of models to build, and I needed a little bit of a rest. So let's go ahead and jump in on this very last row. Punch a couple holes down through here, and let's hope that it is as good as what we pulled last time, which was the P47 by Canopy. Punch on through there, fish around. Okay, I've got the label. Let's go ahead and pull that on out, and we will see what we're going to be building. Looks like, okay, so we have the Nakajima B5N Kate. This is going to be interesting because I've always wanted to build a Kate. I actually never have though, so this should be fun. Go ahead and grab that box and see what the kit looks like. Now, the very first kit I built in the video series was also Hasegawa 1/72nd scale. It was the KI61. That turned out okay. This one I'm hoping will have more detail, but you never know. I've never built these 1/72nd scale Hasegawas, so it is what it is. Already I can tell the decals look nice. Might want to try to paint the markings on, might be kind of fun. Canopy is going to be kind of a beast because it's a single piece and it's just going to have to be a lot of masking. I expected that, to be honest. Single poly bag with all of our plastic parts, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing, guys. There's a lot of flash on the smaller parts, so we're going to have to take a closer look at that. We also have the instructions and a supplemental sheet that has our current markings. It looks like this is a pretty standard Hasegawa kit. It looks very similar to the KI61 that I built. I don't know if I have the Nakajima interior green color. I might have to kind of make something up on that, but I think we can do it. Now, the original kit would have come with a different set of markings, and the back of the instructions show what we could have been building had we had that kit instead. Very simple paint jobs, not that much, really mostly natural metal. The one we have here in the kit is a little bit different. But again, we do call out for natural metal on the undersurfaces. Not sure if that's exactly true. Otherwise, markings look neat. To be honest, I actually kind of prefer the original kit markings and schemes, but it's all good. We're going to go ahead and move on here and check out the parts and pieces. So let's take a quick look at the parts themselves. Now, this is, I think, an older mold, simply because there's a lot of flash. And it doesn't look like the parts are very clean, very crisp, very neat. They are recessed panel lines, which is nice. I like that. But there's not a lot of detail. We look at the cockpit itself, and there are some gauges and some molded in levers and whatnot. So that's fine. And this is 1/72nd scale, so you're not really going to see a whole lot in there. But still, there's just a lot of flash. It's kind of difficult on some of these parts to tell where the part ends and where the flash begins. And one thing I'm also not liking here is the seat. Now, there's a large sink mark in one of these seats, and the other seat is just really loaded with flash. So that's not the greatest, to be honest. It's going to take a lot of cleanup, I think, to get this kit together. Not really happy about that. We do have a complete torpedo, which is nice, but we're missing the traditional wooden fins that would have been placed on the torpedo for the shallow waters of Pearl Harbor. So we might have to scratch build that. Giving a quick close-up here, we can check out some of the parts, and as you can see, there's a lot of flash on some of these. These are the gear bay doors, and they are covered in flash. Not only that, but you can check out the seat. Look at that giant sink mark right in the center of that seat. The other one has a raised mark there, ejector pin mark. So this is not the greatest detail, but again, a lot of flash here on the front instrument panel. A little bit of molded in detail, not the greatest. This is not going to be fun to build, I don't think. But despite all of that, we're going to go ahead and push forward. I am hopeful that we can go ahead and get this thing together, and we'll try some new things and just see how it goes. I want to go ahead and rebuild that seat. Not sure that you're really going to see much of it, but I really don't like that sink mark. So we're going to actually cut out the center portion of that, and we're going to build up the bottom and the front lip of that seat. It's going to look a little bit better. We'll do that with some plastic card, nothing too crazy. But let's go ahead and jump into our very first time lapse. We're going to go ahead and get the cockpit assembled. I want to go ahead and rebuild that seat. I'm going to go ahead and just cut out the center section and just rebuild it. And we're going to get some painting done, some seam filling, and we will just see how this all comes together. Fingers crossed, we can get this thing looking like a Kate. Let's dive on in, get this started. All right, everybody, we are back and we have our kit more or less assembled. We're just working on the torpedo right here. We're going to actually build some of those replacement wooden fins that kind of hang off the back of the torpedo. I got to tell you, so far, this kit has not been fun. The parts are, like I said, loaded with flash. It's very difficult to get everything to attach and assemble. There's just a lot of issues here and there. And the fit around the cowling, that was horrible. I'm surprised. I figured that Hasegawa would be just a basic, decent little model, but for some reason, they dropped the ball on this one. Again, it could just be old molds. I don't know. But yeah, it's not exactly the best kit I've ever built. One of the low points so far of this build series. Now, for the internal color on the paint, I used a lighter green color than what is actually called out for. Then I went ahead and overcoated it with some of the panel line accent by Tamiya, and that actually tinted it down, so it looks okay. It's not perfect, but again, nothing on this kit is, so I don't feel too bad about it. Now, in terms of these replacement fins here on the back, as far as I know, the torpedoes used at Pearl Harbor were fitted with these wooden fins that would actually help to keep the torpedo from striking into the ground, seeing as Pearl Harbor is kind of shallow. I'm going to go ahead and scratch build these out of just plain old plastic card, and I don't know what they look like, and I don't really want to take time to research that, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it my best guess. So I've got the main horizontal fin, and then I've got a perpendicular fin coming off that, and then I have strips of styrene coming off of the top of the molded in fins there on the torpedo. Like I said, it's not really going to be 100% accurate. I just wanted to go ahead and see if I couldn't add those on. I think it looks a little bit more interesting, and it adds a little bit more accuracy, or at least my heart's in the right place with this one. So we're just going to go ahead and glue all of this down, and once it's done, we'll prime it over, and then eventually we'll just paint it with a wood color, maybe like buff or something, just to go ahead and differentiate that between the natural metal. So let's go ahead and get this all wrapped up here, make sure it's dry, and throw the canopy on. So the kit is shaping up, not necessarily the best kit like I've said, but it is going together. We've got the landing gears on, everything is more or less ready for priming. Now we're gonna go ahead and jump into another time lapse, and I'm gonna push through. We're going to prime everything in the Style-N-Res white. Then we're going to come back. We're going to hit everything in the all-clad gloss black. That's going to go ahead and give us a nice base coat for natural metal. I'm not really sure if the undersurfaces of these Pearl Harbor Kates would have been natural metal, but the instructions call out for natural metal, so I'm just going to go ahead and do what the instructions say and just do it natural metal. Plus, I get a chance to practice a bit more with all-clad. Other than that, we're going to get some weathering done, get our top coat on. We're not going to do too much in terms of weathering, but we're just going to push on. Let's get this thing done, guys. Let's do it. All right, everybody, we are back, and I have finished my B5N Kate. I gotta tell you, this kit was not easy. We had horrible flash, our parts didn't really fit, there was a huge issue with the cowling and the engine, nothing really lined up. The molds must be super old, but we finished it, and we had fun doing it. So here it is, our finished 1/72nd scale B5N Kate by Hasegawa. Honestly, it came together okay in the end. It's not the best kit I've ever built. This is probably one of the weakest members we have had so far on this build series, but we finished it, and now we can put it in our display case and call it a day. As you can see, I kept the weathering to a minimum. I did end up painting on the national markings. Just kind of wanted to do that, but of course that means that the reds don't really match for the tail code and the actual markings. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I do like how I did the natural metal on the bottom though. That turned out decently. But of course, I don't even know if the Kate would have had natural metal for the bottom of the aircraft. We've got the wooden fin on the back of the torpedo. We scratch built that out of plasticard. That looks okay. It's not the best, but it'll work. Looks to be decent. Overall, I'm happy with it, you know. I did have to go ahead and pull that torpedo a little bit higher up onto the fuselage just so that we could actually get the tail wheel to clear. Otherwise, it actually rested on the back of the torpedo and not the tail wheel. But a simple fix in the end. Giving you a quick close-up here, you can see I did keep the weathering pretty clean. I came back and I kind of airbrushed certain areas with a little bit lighter mix of that deep green, hoping to give a little bit more contrast. I used panel liners by AK to go ahead and give it a little dirt, and I chipped here and there with a colored pencil for a little bit of wear and tear. To be honest, I kept this pretty clean. I figured this was super early war, and it wouldn't have necessarily been as beaten up or as used as a little bit later in the war Kates would have been. So I kept it pretty clean. Underside is a little bit dirtier, but not by much. Again, I painted on those national markings. I really like how those turned out. Again, the red isn't exactly right, but nothing on this kit is. It looks okay at 3 feet, and that's about the distance that you could see it there in my display case. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us here on day number 9. The Kate is finished. It looks okay. Not the best kit, probably the weakest link in the entire build series so far, but still, it's done. It's not too bad for what it is. We will see you back here though on the next episode. We're moving on to day number 10. So until then, make sure to go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. Enjoy your holiday season. I hope everyone is doing well, and we will see you back here on episode number 10 for the 12 Sprues of Kit-mas. We're getting there, guys. Hang in there. We're on our way. We'll see you soon.